Have you considered how a single event from long ago can shape our world today? Consider a single decision that started a chain of events that affected many lives. Spontaneous changes that changed history have occurred throughout history. Consider how past civilizations gave us governance, language, and culture. Consider how democracy and the printing press transformed societies instantly. Imagine a world without the Industrial Revolution. Imagine people, their work, and their environment remaining unaltered as if time stopped. The inventions that changed society and advanced development were whispers of what may have been. Imagine a world where communities prosper in peace with nature, depending on traditional crafts and customs, while promising innovation looms ahead. This scenario may lead to a different outcome of World War II. Reimagined history. What stories could emerge? These musings reveal the fragile and interwoven nature of our lives. Everything you use, every rule you follow, and every holiday you celebrate has a history. History is a vast story of survival, growth, and reinvention. It recounts our adventure. Oh, my listener, let us consider a historical event that changed our lives. Join us as we discover humanity's defining events and the astonishing stories in our daily lives. In the tapestry of time, past echoes may enlighten today and lead the future. History is a magnificent chronicle of humanity's struggle, victory, and transition. We must revisit the events that led us to this point to understand our reality. Each innovation, revolution, battle, and breakthrough is a crucial part of this ongoing story. This story has permeated modern cultures, societies, and innovations. History conjures up images of old ruins, aged scrolls, and riches. The history tapestry is alive. It's in our words, beliefs, and daily routines. History shapes the present and the future, from the bustling streets of modern cities to the peaceful hamlets of pastoral lands. Let us consider history's tremendous value as we attempt to understand ourselves. Who are we as individuals, countries, and a global family? Time weaves the answers to these questions into past events and choices. We discover the significance behind our values, beliefs, and customs via history. Consider democracy, a gift we frequently miss, which originated in ancient Greece. Its long history of struggle and evolution has shaped how many people view liberty and leadership today. However, history is more than wins. It highlights human flaws and hardships. Conflicts, imperial expansion, and oppression are as much a part of the human story as innovation and development. These melancholy tales teach us to avoid previous mistakes. History instructs those who want to learn. History is amazing for how its threads weave together. Events in one corner of the world frequently weave threads that touch lives and shape destiny in ways unforeseen. Consider the Silk Road, a wonderful route for trade, ideas, culture, and technology that connected East and West throughout history. Like ancient narratives, the age of exploration connected faraway regions, altering the story of human history. Each historical event weaves a vast tapestry, creating a dynamic and evolving narrative. Let us remember that world history is more than events. It's how we see them. Understanding our history informs our future. History intertwines the long campaign for equality, the fierce fight against climate change, and the constant pursuit of innovation. We can better predict and shape the future when we understand such patterns. As we study history, we discover significant truths about ourselves and mankind. As we embark on this magnificent trip through the years, let us be open to the knowledge of those who came before us. Their experiences enlighten our current lives and offer hope for the future. Once upon a time, mankind encountered success and tragedy. demonstrating the strength to survive and change. Long ago, our ancestors rose from the soil to rule Africa's wide plains. First, these primitive people survived and adapted, using just their instincts and the simplest tools. To survive, they traveled, obtaining food and improving their talents. When they harnessed the flames, they gained warmth and protection, which improved their meals and minds. The story of humanity's civilization began here. The agricultural revolution was a key event in human history. Around 10,000 years ago, humans transitioned from hunters-gatherers to farmers. This transition made modest villages develop and become busy metropolises. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians invented cuneiform, the earliest writing system. Writing was a gift that preserved laws, trade, and storytelling for future generations. As civilizations grew, their aspirations rose. Ancient Egyptians built enormous pyramids to express their belief in the afterlife and their emperor's divinity. Indus Valley towns like Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were marvels of urban design. They had such complex drainage systems that many modern towns struggle to equal them. In ancient China, the Shang and Zhou dynasties created a rich civilization that endured. They pioneered government, technology, and philosophy, leaving a legacy. Interactions in flourishing early civilizations shaped history. Ancient roads like the Silk Road connected distant regions, facilitating the exchange of wealth, wisdom, and civilizations. Hittites and Babylonians were powerful Bronze Age civilizations. They shaped history with their military and economic might across broad areas. History is like a river, ever-changing and twisting. Great empires rose and fell, often due to internal strife or external threats. Greece shone in the Mediterranean, dazzling knowledge and art. The ancient Greeks gave humanity democracy, philosophy, and revolutionary scientific discoveries that changed history. Philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle explored the nature of life, governance, and ethics, laying the groundwork for Western thinking. The Greeks spread their rich culture via invasion, trade, and colonization, expanding their influence over their known countries. The Romans took up the tradition of those ancient peoples and built one of the world's greatest empires. Roman engineers built gorgeous aqueducts that delivered life-giving water, highways that connected distant places, and huge stadiums where the people could soar. These achievements showed their intelligence and ability, indicating a culture that valued innovation and ambition. Governance changed dramatically under the Roman Republic and Empire. They created legal and administrative structures that would shape nations for millennia. The collapse of Rome in the 5th century CE marked the beginning of the Dark Ages, according to historians. Feudal domains split Europe, but elsewhere creativity and knowledge spread. A golden age of science, medicine, mathematics, and literature occurred from the 8th to the 13th century. Al-Khwarizmi, the inventor of algebra, and Ibn Sina, whose medical wisdom guided centuries, helped advance knowledge during the Enlightenment. In the past, Baghdad, Cordoba, and Cairo were beacons of knowledge, luring influential men and intellectuals from far and wide to impart insight. Then, powerful empires formed across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Genghis Khan once ruled a powerful kingdom. This wide area connected Europe and Asia via trade and ideas, letting its inhabitants share riches and wisdom. The powerful Mali Empire developed in Africa under clever emperors like Mansa Musa. Through robust trade and rich culture, they wove a legacy of riches and wisdom that endured. The Maya, Aztec, and Inca prospered in the Americas, creating sophisticated calendars, towering monuments, and elaborate social systems that showed their skill and energy. Europe awoke to a new period of discovery and enlightenment during the Renaissance. The rebirth of old knowledge sparked a cultural and intellectual renaissance. Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo created works that still inspire awe, while Galileo and Copernicus challenged the cosmos. Johannes Gutenberg's printing press invention was a major milestone. This technology made knowledge freely and quickly available to the public, sparking world-changing ideas. A magnificent age began with the search for unexplored roads and their treasures. Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, and Ferdinand Magellan bravely connected ancient and new worlds. This epoch also saw colonialism, which brought devastating changes to local peoples. The Columbian Exchange unleashed a flood of new crops, animals, and illnesses, transforming economies and ecosystems worldwide. The scientific revolution and enlightenment enlightened many and changed human knowledge during a period of profound awakening. Isaac Newton, René Descartes, and John Locke pioneered modern science, philosophy, and politics. Reason and development fueled revolutions at times of immense longing for change, inspiring people to foresee a new world that would reshape society. The American and French revolutions challenged monarchs and spread liberty, equality, and democracy at a time of enormous turmoil. However, the Industrial Revolution brought the greatest change. A tremendous shift occurred in the late 18th century, bringing technical and economic advances that would profoundly change daily life and labor. In a time of immense change, factories, steam engines, and mechanized manufacturing gave unprecedented riches and opportunity. Industrialization brought population growth, hard work, and environmental damage. The 20th century was a time of immense turmoil and progress, like no other. The two world wars changed boundaries and ideologies, while the Cold War divided the world into competing zones of influence. Despite the challenges, humanity made significant progress. Civil liberties, freedom from colonial authority, and women's rights reshaped society at a time of enormous upheaval. These astonishing feats show humankind's infinite energy, from the airplane's flight to the moon landing. History continues to unfold as we enter the 21st century. In this age of amazing transition, human connections have created a tapestry of possibilities and tribulations that were formerly unattainable. The stories of the past remind us of our limitless creativity, power, and solidarity. A single reality emerges from time's tapestry. History is a lively narrative woven by those who dreamed, created, and persevered. We learn life lessons and find direction by following their pathways. In 1945, World War II ended, marking a pivotal point in human history. A huge struggle raged long ago, scarring the world and countless hearts. Once the battle concluded, this moment played a pivotal role in the history of humanity. The globe changed forever. Nations discovered new identities, and politics, innovation, and society began again. We must examine its roots, key moments, and enduring impacts to understand it. World War I, which scarred regions and destroyed livelihoods, was looming in those days. The world penned the Treaty of Versailles, seeking peace with noble intentions. Like an ancient legend, it unknowingly created strife and discontent, resulting in a difficult future. Hyperinflation and totalitarian governments descended on Germany during a moment of economic despair, producing a turbulent and insecure society. Hitler ascended to power in the 1930s with ardent nationalism and big pledges to reclaim Germany's glory. This crucial event set the stage for a global conflict. In 1939, the Second World War began. The genuine turning point came in 1944 to 1945, when the gallant Allied armies defeated the Axis powers and restored peace. D-Day, a landmark invasion, occurred on June 6, 1944. Operation Overlord was a brave and united effort. The courageous US, UK, Canadian, and other Allied soldiers stormed Normandy, France. A massive assemblage of almost 150,000 heroic people launched the biggest amphibious invasion in history. This historic incident saw land, sea, and air troops operating together like never before. History changed on that day, bringing Nazi Germany down. Surprisingly, the invasion established a solid foundation in Europe, enabling the Allies to march westward into Germany, while the valiant Soviet soldiers advanced eastward. In a narrative of hardship and tenacity, the two fronts brought down the German war machine. In May 1945, Berlin was in ruins. Hitler had died, and the Third Reich surrendered unconditionally. Conflict ended in Europe. However, the Pacific conflict was far from over. Despite its fragility, Japan resisted in a period of enormous struggle. In an uncertain moment, the country faced the harsh reality of a long and ferocious intrusion into Japan's heart. Desperation and haste led to the decision to use the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The U.S. bombed Nagasaki again 3 days later. No one had ever seen such destruction. Cities burned, taking tens of thousands of lives in an instant. Japan surrendered its arms on August 15, 1945, ending World War II. Nuclear weapons sparked a profound moral debate about their necessity and the ethical implications of wielding such power. The end of World War II ushered forth a new global order, altering the planet. In 1945, a grand assembly of nations joined together to build a path toward peace and harmony, averting violence and fostering cooperation among all peoples. However, the Cold War gripped the world. The US and USSR were allies during a major war. After the war ended, they found themselves on opposing sides, competing for both ideological and geopolitical dominance. A major division occurred in the later part of the 20th century, defined by proxy wars, a race for nuclear armaments, and the threat of devastation. The end of the planet. World War II changed society and technology, reshaping the planet. Following the war, the Holocaust exposed the pernicious effects of intolerance and prejudice. The Nuremberg trials, during a period of profound reckoning, established the notion of holding people accountable for their crimes against humanity. The demand for unity and output during wartime spurred creativity in healing arts, architecture, and design. After the war, strong women who took on male responsibilities found new opportunities and expectations. Many faced the burden of returning to household tasks, yet metamorphosis had begun. The drive for gender equality grew as change began, leading to significant women's rights movements in the years that followed. A tremendous wave of decolonization started after the war. After the war, colonized nations, having sacrificed resources and bravery, demanded freedom and self-determination. Many years ago, the British Empire, the world's largest, saw its valiant colonies in India, Africa, and the Caribbean longing for independence. In a time of enormous upheaval, the French and Dutch empires faced hardships as nationalism spread throughout Asia and Africa. The fall of the ancient empires created new states and reshaped sovereignty. After the war, a dramatic transition occurred, causing global expansion. The U.S. economy boomed during a time of considerable change. Western Europe found optimism and regeneration in the Marshall Plan. a generous American effort to rebuild war-torn nations. Japan transformed itself after its struggles, becoming an economic powerhouse by the 1970s. However, this success and transformation prompted contemplation. Atomic bombs showed humankind's dangerous potential. Following the war, ambition led to the creation of formidable weapons capable of repeatedly wiping out all life on Earth. The difficult balance between technological innovation and ethical obligation is a central question of our day. World War II's peak, a moment of enormous turbulence and development, is a turning point in human history. It altered our political, social, and economic systems, leaving a legacy that still impacts global events. This moment illustrates humanity's ability to destroy and restore. As we reflect on this critical moment, we are called to accept its lessons: unity over disagreement, human dignity, and balancing power with love. World War II ended a terrible conflict and began a new chapter in human history. It encourages us to use history's lessons to build a harmonious, progressive, and intentional future. World War II ended in 1945, signifying the end of a catastrophic war and the beginning of a global revolution. After this epic conclusion, a stunning succession of events and changes shaped our globe. After a war, nations rose again, forging narratives of perseverance and cooperation. The journey was challenging, as the globe grappled with profound differences and strived for a brighter future amidst the past. Rebuilding was the top priority after the war. Europe, once the center of power, was desolate. Instability led to the destruction of Berlin, Warsaw, and London, the collapse of their economies, and the displacement of many people. In a surprising change of circumstances, the Allies began a massive restoration project. The Marshall Plan was a magnificent U.S. undertaking at a time of need. This generous initiative provided over $12 billion, nearly $150 billion today, to restore Western Europe. This aid revived the economy and strengthened U.S.-European relations, setting the framework for NATO in 1949. After the war, the Soviet Union triumphed, but faced difficult challenges. The Western world was devastated, and 27 million Soviet citizens died in war. The USSR dominated Eastern Europe, establishing communist governments in Poland, Hungary, and East Germany. In history, a major rift between East and West formed, laying the groundwork for a global system that would last decades throughout the Cold War. After the war, a major change caused the uprooting of numerous people. Refugees, POWs, and concentration camp survivors lived during the chaos. They journeyed for refuge, hope, and rebuilding. After this devastating disaster, international organizations like UNHCR emerged to satisfy the victims' needs. These institutions comforted and reassured the displaced while planning for future compassion and assistance. In 1945, the UN emerged as a glimmer of hope following World War II. This new assembly, unlike the League of Nations, aimed to foster unity among nations and avert future conflicts. In the busy center of New York City, an organization united nations to face our greatest concerns, from peacekeeping to human rights. The United Nations presented the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. This proclamation is a light of hope and a witness to countries' desire to end war. Peace after the war was difficult to achieve. The Cold War began when capitalism and communism clashed, sparking strong competition between the US and the USSR. In a time of immense strife, espionage and power struggles occurred across faraway places in the shadows. The Korean War, from 1950 to 1953, and the Vietnam War, from 1955 to 1975, were ideological conflicts. The 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis was another major occurrence during this volatile time. The space race raged during the Cold War. This quest for knowledge and creativity catapulted mankind to unprecedented heights, culminating in the 1969 moon landing. Post-World War II decolonization began. After the war, several colonies with few resources and populations demanded independence. In 1947, Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru led India to freedom from British rule. Many people ignited a flame, sparking a dramatic surge of change across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean, as nations sought independence from colonial authority. Liberation was frequently difficult, but it ended European dominance and changed the world's power balance. Post-war America changed dramatically as the U.S. became the world's leading power. Industrial ingenuity and a dynamic consumer culture drove economic growth during a time of unprecedented affluence. The suburbia movement changed America, while the GI Bill allowed heroic warriors to study and purchase homes. A movement evolved during a moment of tremendous awakening, inspiring people to fight society's deep-rooted inequalities for equality for all. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X were significant icons in this epic battle, transforming American culture. War echoes in Japan brought wreckage and rejuvenation. The U.S. occupation changed Japan's political, economic, and social landscapes. In 1947, a new constitution established a government of, by, and for the people, eliminating the use of force to resolve disputes. After World War II, Japan had a Japanese economic miracle. By the 1970s, the nation had become one of the world's top economies. This amazing change shows the Japanese people's tenacity and perseverance. After World War II, science and technology advanced dramatically. During times of unrest, knowledge fueled advancements in medicine, flying, and computation. The war led to the invention of penicillin, radar, and jet engines, all of which continued to improve. The atomic bomb was a sign of destruction, but it also started a new era of nuclear power. James Watson and Francis Crick revealed DNA's complicated construction in 1953. This groundbreaking finding launched modern genetics and a new scientific era. The Holocaust is a lasting reminder of human sorrow. Following World War II, the Nuremberg trials took place from 1945 to 1946. The world wanted to confront the darkness of the past, bringing forward individuals who had perpetrated horrific deeds during the conflict to assure justice and remember the atrocities of mankind. These trials established international law and paved the way for genocide and war crimes courts. The Holocaust moved many, inspiring the founding of Israel in 1948. Jewish survivors and refugees found safety and rebuilt their lives in this new land. However, this event revealed layers of complexity in the Middle East, causing tensions and conflicts that persist today. After World War II, a tremendous change and reconstruction occurred. This age also exposed the major challenges of achieving universal peace and justice. Nations split in a moment of immense tension, and change swept the globe, resulting in the creation of new nations. To this backdrop, people have cried out for justice and equality throughout history. Despite these obstacles, progress occurred. The United Nations and other international organizations promoted collaboration during a moment of tremendous endeavor. As technology improved life, new nations sprouted from the world's fabric, each seeking sovereignty and self-determination. This reminds us that history is a tapestry of interconnected events, each contributing to the larger narrative. The decisions made after World War II shaped our world. Reflecting on this historic period reminds us of the power of the human spirit and its continuous pursuit of harmony and progress. World War II ended, but it also started a new period that set the stage for the next chapter in human history. The end of World War II was a key period that shaped contemporary society. Its legacy haunts global society, politics, and culture, shaping our present and future. In 1945, war ended and a new chapter began, allowing for rehabilitation, healing, and the positive vision of what mankind may become. This resolution was complex, transforming nations, elevating communities, and creating a framework for nations to cooperate to prevent future conflict. Repairing the shattered lands was the biggest problem after the war. Afterward, Europe was in ruins, with cities destroyed, businesses wrecked, and millions displaced. The Marshall Plan, an ambitious financial aid program to rehabilitate Western Europe, propelled the U.S. to global prominence in this historic period. In a spectacular effort, war-torn nations received massive aid. This extensive support boosted economic growth and political stability in the region. The U.S. and its Western European allies formed strong relationships, laying the groundwork for NATO in 1949. The battle-worn Soviet Union chose a different path in the midst of chaos. A powerful leader formerly ruled Eastern Europe. He forged alliances with satellite governments to firmly establish the Eastern Bloc. The East-West division of the past shaped history and led to the Cold War. There was a period when the Iron Curtain existed. This visible and invisible barrier divided the countries, symbolizing the conflict between democracy and communism. Thus, the end of the war did not bring peace, but rather a new global crisis. The U.S. occupation of Japan, after its defeat, brought major changes to the East. General Douglas MacArthur led Japan's rebuilding and democracy during a time of significant transition. He proposed a constitution that prioritized human rights over conflict. People dubbed Japan's post-World War II recovery the Japanese economic miracle. This astounding rebound catapulted Japan into the ranks of global economic powerhouses during the latter part of the 20th century. This astonishing turnaround shows how innovation, dedication, and international cooperation can convert despair into optimism. In 1945, the globe united to create the United Nations, a symbol of humanity's pledge to prevent another war. The United Nations has more instruments to resolve international crises and promote peace than the League of Nations. The Security Council was founded with 5 steady members: the United States, the Soviet Union, now Russia, the United Kingdom, France, and China, to promote global governance harmony. The UN's mandate encompassed human rights, health, education, and economic development. In 1948, the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a major milestone in human dignity and justice. It declared human dignity and equal rights for everyone, laying the framework for modern human rights law. This statement was a response to World War II and a yearning for justice and fairness for everyone. However, World War II revealed deep social and political divisions that required continuous attention. The Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews and others died, left a lasting effect on humanity. The Nuremberg trials occurred from 1945 to 1946, after World War II. The world sought justice and punished major crimes against humanity by bringing Nazi officials to face the repercussions of their deeds here. These trials paved the way for international courts to address genocides in Rwanda, the former Yugoslavia, and elsewhere. The resolution that followed the war led to the creation of Israel in 1948. After the Holocaust, Israel was a beacon of hope and safety for many Jewish survivors. However, the formation of Israel sparked deep-seated Middle Eastern tensions, laying the groundwork for years of Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This detailed story shows how solving one problem may lead to other ones that require lasting solutions. Post-war decolonization saw nations recover their identities and futures. In those days, several colonies, whose courageous spirits had stayed firm and fought for freedom, rose up and sought independence. Mahatma Gandhi led India to overthrow British rule in 1947, igniting a movement that spread throughout Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. World history saw the formation of states from colonial regions, redefining sovereignty. However, colonial armies clung to their authority as rising states struggled with internal disputes, making this voyage often turbulent. Post-war societal changes, especially for women, were dramatic. Women took on men's duties throughout the chaos. They worked in industry, joined auxiliary military organizations, and helped the war effort in many ways. Though many expected women to return to conventional household responsibilities after the war, the voyage of independence and greater competence set the roots for future gender equality initiatives. Inspired by World War II, intrepid women challenged the standards of their day and fought for everyone's rights in the 20th century. Nation after nation flourished like never before after the enormous war. America flourished at a time of enormous affluence, sparking consumerism and technological progress. The American environment changed at a time of significant change. As families sought a new life, the suburbs grew. The motor industry flourished, facilitating travel and adventure, while the middle class grew and aspirations skyrocketed. This period saw a reshaping of the social fabric. In Europe and Japan, recovery restored comforts and planted the seeds for a prosperous future. The 1944 Bretton Woods meeting was a major event. This historic event created a heavenly foundation for economic harmony among countries. Thus, the renowned International Monetary Fund and World Bank emerged to foster global wealth and cooperation. After the war, technology advanced rapidly, changing history throughout this crucial resolution era. Nuclear energy began under the shadows of warfare, but it changed dramatically. This strong force was made civilian, providing the globe with new power. Man's yearning for the stars began during the Cold War. The 1957 launch of Sputnik ignited development and prepared the way for the 1969 Apollo moon landing, a testimony to exploration. These achievements demonstrate humanity's incredible spirit, showing our capacity to develop and explore, despite past hardships. Despite considerable progress, World War II ended with hardships and paradoxes. Nations engaged in covert conflicts and battled for nuclear power, dividing the world while peace remained uncertain. History intertwines the valiant fight for civil rights in the US and the dogged fight against apartheid in South Africa. These efforts reflect the ongoing fight for justice and equality, mirroring the dreams of those who envisioned a better future. Industry and cities cast a shadow over the land in the past. Progress cast a shadow that signaled a reckoning. This moment planted the seeds of a major awakening, which led to the birth of a movement committed to environmental stewardship in the late 20th century. After World War II, we realize it was both an end and a new beginning. It signified the conclusion of a sorrowful era in human history and the initiation of a fresh chapter filled with opportunities and challenges. The war's lessons on unchecked power, national unity, and personal strength continue to resonate. In many respects, World War II's end showcases humanity's duality. our power to destroy, and our incredible ability to rebuild. It calls us to examine history, confront our past mistakes, and work for a peaceful and prosperous future. In our complex and contradictory lives, we see the enormous effect of that incredible age. The judgments made after the war serve as warnings and inspiration for future generations. As we commemorate World War II and its lasting impacts, we must acknowledge how the past shapes our present. Our wisdom, from the benefits of cooperating across nations to the dangers of unchecked power, guides us toward a better future. However, this conversation has only begun. Comment below with your thoughts. Which World War II lessons are most relevant today? To face 21st century challenges, how can we incorporate these teachings? Continue your trip through history if it has intrigued and educated you. Join us in our next video as we explore the Cold War's significant consequences on global relations and its lingering repercussions in international politics. History provides the wisdom and insight needed to navigate today's and tomorrow's complex roads. Gather together and explore the fascinating storylines that have shaped our lives. Explore these classic tales that inspire and enlighten us. Come, let's explore the past and build a better tomorrow.